So, from Lao Tzu, I commonly read this on day 2 of a retreat. Contemporary of the Buddha, but in China. This is the nature of the unenlightened mind. The sense organs, which are limited in scope and ability, randomly gather information. This partial information is arranged into judgments, which are based on previous judgments, which are usually based on someone else's foolish ideas. These false concepts and ideas are then stored in a highly selective memory system. Distortion upon distortion. The mental energy flows constantly through contorted and inappropriate channels. And the more one uses the mind, the more confused one becomes. To eliminate this vexation of the mind, it doesn't help to do something. This only reinforces the mind's mechanics. Dissolving the mind is instead a matter of not doing. Simply avoid becoming attached to what you see and think. Relinquish the notion that you are separated from the all-knowing mind of the universe. Then you can recover your original pure insight and see through all illusions. Knowing nothing, you will be aware of everything. Remember, because clarity and enlightenment are within your own nature, they are regained without ever moving an inch. This is the nature of the unenlightened mind. The sense organs, which are limited in scope and ability, randomly gather information. This partial information is arranged into judgments, which are based on previous judgments, which are usually based on someone else's foolish ideas. These false concepts and ideas are then stored in a highly selective memory system. Distortion upon distortion, the mental energy flows constantly through contorted and inappropriate channels. And the more one uses the mind, the more confused one becomes. To eliminate this vexation of the mind, it doesn't help to do something. This only reinforces the mind's mechanics. Dissolving the mind is instead a matter of not doing. Simply avoid becoming attached to what you see and think. Relinquish the notion that you are separated from the all-knowing mind of the universe. Then you can recover your original pure insight and see through all illusions. Knowing nothing, you will be aware of everything. Remember, because clarity and enlightenment. Remember, because clarity and awakening are within your own nature. They are regained without ever moving an inch. And so we come. Beings called inward. Beings on the Dharma path. We come to sit together. And we are either lost in the dream or awake. And what is it to be awake? It's to be mindful. Let us relinquish the belief that we're going to get enlightened someday in the future. There is no future. There is now. And what exists now? There is a body sitting here. Some body sits here. It's alive. And something incredibly mysterious is happening. There's awareness. And somehow or another, that awareness can be directed, for instance, to the contact of the body with the chair. Toward the aliveness in the hands. Toward the aliveness in what we call the face. And there can be knowing of the coming and going of the breath. Let's abandon the notion, oh, I know what that is, I've done that, and actually encounter the miraculous fact that the body is breathing in and out. Someday it won't, but right now, it breathes in and out. what is it that we actually have? Seeing, and the eyes are closed. Hearing, episodically, this voice. Smelling, maybe something. Tasting, the background taste of the mouth. Touch, proprioception, heat, cool, pressure. And at the mind door, there could be thoughts. They could be thoughts of the past or thoughts of the future. They could be thoughts filled with desire or disliking. The mind could be extraordinarily calm, thoughtless. Or filled with restlessness and agitation. There could be a lot of energy or very little energy, and sloth and torpor could be dominant. There could be doubt. So there are the sense doors and their objects. And there is the mysterious knowing of them, the all-knowing mind of the universe. Thinking is of no help to us at all. For this journey, thinking is all about the known, that which already is known. And we sit here on the lip of the mystery. And so we dedicate ourselves, we abide. We abide in the phenomenon of in-breathing and out-breathing. And observe how we become entranced by thinking. And observe how awakening happens. It's such a natural process. Let's abandon using our meditation to prepare for something. There is a place for preparation, of course, in life. But here, where we are devoted to awakening, there's nothing to prepare. There's just now. There are some characteristics of the awakened mind. The first, of course, is mindfulness. The second is curiosity. So we're way beyond just trying to get calm. We're curious. How is it that thoughts think themselves? And the breath knows how to breathe. There is persistence. We keep practicing. There is concentration. The mind can, in fact, go quiet and focused. There is tranquility. There is equanimity. It becomes increasingly possible to be with the polarities of life. And there is a kind of quiet joy. And if we let go of all these words and concepts, there's just this breathing in, this breathing out. Discomfort may arise. In time, certainly discomfort will arise. Restlessness, impatience, liking and disliking. There's no predicting. Life is much more mysterious than we let on to ourselves. More surprising. Sometimes a moment arises in which it's obvious, okay, this meditation's over. But then turns out it's not. It turns out that's an impulse driven by desire or disliking. And how strengthening, how wonderful to just observe it. Oh, there's that. It's not personal. And time and again, there is here and now a body that sits here. It includes the life of the feet and the legs, the pelvis, the solar plexus and the gut, the chest, the sacrum and the back, and the fingers and thumbs and hands and forearms and upper arms, the armpits and the shoulders and the neck, and the jaw and the cheeks and the lips and the eyes and the nose and the scalp and the ears. It's all alive. And the entirety of the practice rests in the arms of love and compassion. I aspire to love myself and the experience of this moment, exactly as I am. We don't have to earn being loved. Love is our natural state. And whenever I discover that I'm hurting or suffering, I intend to hold myself in sweet compassion. And in my life, when I encounter others who are acting badly, unskillfully, I intend to remember that they are consumed by greed, hatred, and ignorance, the roots of suffering, and hold them too in sweet compassion. And we might add a simple mantra to our practice, which will strengthen concentration. On the in-breath, we could intone, imagine, may I be really happy. Not particularly the happiness of getting our way or the mood happiness, but the great happiness, the happiness of freedom. On the in-breath, so we fill our own bodies with this blessing, may I be really happy. And then on the out-breath, may all beings be really happy. And so we still know in-breathing and out-breathing, and we add a layer of intention of a sort. And of course you could use any words you want here. You could pick a person, maybe someone you know who is suffering. May I be free from suffering, and may this person be free from suffering. May I be free from fear, may this person be free from fear. And please now let us become aware of the body in contact with the chair, the life in the hands, the cheeks, the lips, the eyes. And noticing, as if it were the first time, noticing what preparations must be done, what happens in the mind prior to the eyes opening. They don't open by themselves, nor do they open effortlessly. And then at the right moment, notice how they begin to open. How there is the beginning of light. And then how seeing manifests itself. And being aware of seeing. And the seeing might be very clear, or if the eyes are not working quite right, it could be quite blurry. It could be patches of color. If it's clear, then there's the opportunity to look around and see. I think of it as seeing with the eyes of blessing. Seeing with the eyes of gratitude. And in doing this, it's useful, I think, to understand and know that there's someone on this screen looking at you. And they're looking at you with a kind wish, like, may you be free from anxiety, or may you plummet into the present moment and find more delight than you ever dreamed of. Or may your sickness go into remission. Or may those relationship problems soften and diminish to zero. I suppose that's not realistic. Soften and diminish a lot. I remember the discovery by John Gottman, he and his wife Julie, who they're really the only people who've done true research on couples in the world, actually, I think. They have great books, John Gottman. But his discovery, I found this both very reassuring and sad, was that the masters of marriage, the people who they've followed for 20 years, the ones who are really doing it well have resolved 30% of their conflictual issues. The other 70% are objects of conversation, discussion, disappointment, and ideally a sense of humor. So, don't know how I got there, but yeah. So I have two announcements I want to make. They both hold the date. One is New Year's Eve. We'll be doing something from 9 to 12:15 or so. A sharing and then a taking of refuge and entering the new year together in meditation. And then the 4th of January, I'm going to be welcoming you, if you wish, to a performance of the year of living, the year of magical thinking by Joan Didion, performed by Vanessa Redgrave. It's the story of her mind in the year following the death of her husband in front of her at the dinner table and the death of her daughter. It's a most amazing thing. So it's an hour and 30 minutes, I think. I'll play that, and then we'll have half an hour for some discussion. And other than that, I don't want to do a lot. Jim, do you have something coming you'd like to mention? Thanks, Jim. And for Wally, it's the reading is from the Wahoo Ching, and it's number 44. And do you have it, Jim? Can you put it in the chat, do you think? Okay, thanks. So, dear friends, there's only now. What if that's really true? I'm going to mute you, Jim. Oh, you're back again. If we both do it, it doesn't work. There we go. So, as is our custom, if you have something, a joy or a sorrow or an insight, please unmute yourself and you'll have a loving audience. Imagine that. Hello, Kathy. That's great. Thank you. It's true, isn't it? But it's hard. I mean, if we added up the number of years of school represented on this screen, it would be enormous. And I mean, school is designed to train the mind to think, compare and contrast. But not often are we taught. Observe thinking. Stop. Thinking is not you. Your intellectual intelligence doesn't determine whether you're a worthy person. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think, see what you think of this, that, well, in the Buddhist view, the core of suffering, the root of it, is desire, aversion, and ignorance of the fact, of the truth, of what is, of that there isn't a self, for instance. And so fear is kind of a subsidiary experience, that it's driven by desire, wanting, I want things to turn out the way I want them, or I don't want them to turn out like that. And so there's fear. It's a strong motivator for us. It's a strong motivator for species survival. But our intention is to go way beyond species survival. Is that making sense? That those are, that they're related, but the very forces that drive life are desire and aversion and ignorance. Yeah. Me too. Really. I don't think you graduate with this. It's like, okay, now I'm there. I think it just keeps getting deeper and richer. More compassion, more curiosity. I mean, I keep talking about the present moment being all there is, and I've said that for decades. It's true. It's not just the theory. And the more true it becomes, the more everything makes sense. Wow, it's strongly emotional for me. What a relief. Delusion is an astounding force or phenomenon. It colors our very perceptions. And then with our perceptions saying it's this way, then how can we possibly not act on the basis of those delusions? While I think of it, tomorrow morning, Jim and I will need to end about 5 minutes till 8. We have a board meeting at 8 o'clock. So that's a thought happening in the present moment. That's a useful way. We have this useful way of structuring time so we can actually plan. But to see it as a useful strategy is helpful. Adios, Jimbo. Goodbye, Amy. Hello, Denise. Mm. Well, to the degree I can see that, I know less and less. Um, there was a time when I would listen to talks by Jack Kornfield and take notes so that I could be sure I got the Eightfold Path parts accurate. And then that became so second nature that I understood. Um, what's underneath I guess the Dharma is much more simple than I thought. You know, that early book, Ram Dass, be here now. There's the teachings. And then there's lots of strategies. Oh, you've got it right there. Right. Yeah. So I think does that help? Is that? Uh-huh. Well, and there's nothing wrong with doing that, but that's not awakening. That's comparing and contrasting. And I think he is such a beautiful human being, the Dalai Lama. He has been through so much. And he's gotten softer and softer and softer and much less Buddhist. He used to be a Buddhist, and now he really isn't. I mean, I know he came to 2 at least of the big teachers conferences I went to, and he said again and again, don't try to convert people to Buddhism. Help them be a better Christian or a better Muslim. And my religion is kindness. My religion is kindness. There's actually a funny story that whenever I think of him, I think of this. He came in, there's 250 Western Buddhist teachers. And he came in the second day of the conference, I think. And we got up that morning and we all had to leave the premises. We had to leave Spirit Rock and then come back in through metal detectors and the whole security apparatus. There's a teacher called Christopher Titmus, who's kind of a rebel, and he created quite a stir by refusing to leave. And the Secret Service were about to carry him out when he finally relented and left and then came back in. But anyway, we're in the hall and His Holiness is showing up, and one of his front people comes in and says, a simple bow is plenty for His Holiness. For those of you monastics that must do full bows to the ground, that's fine. But just know that he doesn't need anything more than a bow. And he comes in and he's this cute little guy and he's a little bent over. He gets up on this place that they've created for him. And then within a minute or two, he says, I'm a simple monk. Some people think I'm a great healer. And then he starts fiddling with, the Tibetan clothing that unbuttons here. He unbuttons that on one robe and he unbuttons another robe and you wonder, what is he doing? He's fiddling with his clothes like this. And then he says, he leans forward and says, you see this rash? I have a rash on my back. Would I have this rash if I was a great healer? And he did that kind of thing quite a few times. Oh, at this one conference, all of the big names were there. And the big names in Western Buddhism. And one of them, anyway, I'll skip that piece. And they had it set up in this way, that there was a topic. And then there were 6 people. One person would speak to the topic for like 3 minutes. And then another person would speak to the other side of it 3 minutes. And then a second person would speak to the first side. And then there was the luminary, very famous writer in Buddhism in the West. And then he or she would then speak to the topic. And then they would ask him, what is your response? And he did that beautiful little giggle of his and said, I only remember what the last person said. It was great. And there was a gong for when a person ran out of time, they were supposed to stop. And there was one luminary person who wouldn't stop. And the Dalai Lama was next, and he very, very gently poked him. It's like you should stop when the bell goes. It was clearly loving. Anyway, he's a beautiful man, and he's very soft. Though he of course had he had a lot of power, and there was a time when Sogyal Rinpoche was doing some bad acting out sexually, and he paid off several women millions of dollars actually. And the Dalai Lama told him he had to go into retreat for a year, and he did. So he had some capacity with you will act too. Wise. So, anything else from anybody, please? Oh, my watches. Yeah. Hi, David. Yeah. Hi. Yeah. Huh. Makes us even more important, doesn't it? Sort of. Well, it would be good for me to be moving off into my adventures for the day. I hope you have a wonderful, mindful, safe, COVID-free day. Let's sing our way home. What is it? Oh, yeah. So let's unmute for our beautiful cacophonous harmony. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Happy day, my friends. May we all be healthy and free from suffering. Thank you. Thanks for being here.